All right, so this is currently my personal portfolio. At the time when I started applying for jobs, for the most part, I had the same design. I have tweaked like little things here and there, but my portfolio has pretty much stayed the same. I may have upgraded a few things, like a few things that I've learned. The projects was really the only thing that really changed. So it's just a simple, clean design. I'm not sure how important like the aesthetics of your portfolio is. Like, I don't know how much weight that carries. I feel like what's most important is the projects on your portfolio. I feel like, especially someone looking for a front end developer role, as I was, you want to, give off the notion that you actually have some design skills. So, and you're pretty decent with the front end. So I don't know. I do see some people who use a template, to each their own. I did not use a template. I actually watched quite a few portfolio reviews on YouTube just to see the thought process of like what do people think when they look at someone's portfolio? Like what's a no-no? What should you do? What should you have? What should you add? So and one thing someone made a comment was, to some companies, using a template may be off-putting because if you're trying to convince someone that you want a front-end developer role, that may not help your case. I don't know. I really don't know how. Keep in mind, literally everything that you see online is opinions, especially, even mine. So take everything that you see as a grain of salt, really. But yeah, here's my portfolio. This is actually a link. I didn't have a logo, so I just used my initials. And I have a little underline for the hover effects. Of course, my name. I was targeting front-end developer roles or web developer roles. So I wanted, as soon as you got to my home page, to know like who I was, what I was looking for, basically. I added which is maybe delayed because I'm recording the screen, but it's called a smoky hover effect. Little color change for the button transitions. I link my LinkedIn, my GitHub, my CodePen, and my YouTube channel. And if you click on projects, it just scrolls down. I use smooth scrolling. Here's my project section. I put a screenshot of the home screen of every project on the left, and then on the right, I gave a pretty, I try to keep it concise, but also try to give some context as to what the project is about. So the first paragraph is the description. And then the second section, it tells you what it's built with, what tools I use, language, if I use the API, what have you. This link takes you to the live site. So here's the site live. For anyone who's been following me, this is the last project. Well, actually not even last. The last project on my, that I made the playlist for, aside from Visions of Hope. Yeah, I realized mid-sentence that wasn't even true. Sorry. And as you can see, for this one, I decided to link to the video demo. Now that I think about it, I never actually made like a final walkthrough video. Instead, I thought it was, I guess, more interesting. So you could literally see part 1, part 2, all the way down to, it was 11 parts to this project. I spent a month, like exactly a month, working on this project. I got stuck at one point for like a week. Then when I finally got unstuck, like I hit the ground running. But yeah, I definitely took my time. As my skills improved, my projects became bigger and bigger, and my projects couldn't be finished in a weekend. I put a lot more thought into it. I tried to like pay attention to detail because like I wanted to show progress. If you look at my very first project, like that was like a weekend video. A weekend project. And then as you go, I spent more and more time for the most part. All right. And the third button that I have for all my projects, see code, it links you to the Readme. Let me hide this to give me more room. So every project, I made sure that I had pretty well thought out README. I did not just go with like the Create React app default that you get. I deleted it and started from scratch. I had a description here, a link to the live site as well. Title, I figured out, I learned a little bit of Markdown, just enough to make my make my READMEs just a little bit nicer. I'm by no means an expert in it, but so these just, well, link you to whatever you want to go to if you like looking for something specific. So I'll start with an overview, which is pretty much the description that's on my portfolio itself. Images are just screenshots. So I did a screenshot of the hero section, screenshot of another page on desktop, and I did the same thing for mobile. And I'm pretty sure I kept up this trend for all my READMEs for all my projects on my portfolio. Link to the repository, link to the live site. And this is my process. So it's like a super summary of basically how I started and like what I went through building the project for the most part. And keep going. Here are all the things that I used. That particular project was built with, React style components, React Router version 6, context API, and use state, use effect, use context, and use reducer hooks. Now this section is really interesting. I may have added this for another project, but I can't remember. I ran into so many problems with this project just because it was my first time doing a lot of it. This was pretty much like, now that I think about it, a crash course. Not a crash course, but like it pretty much covered almost every area of React. Like in the beginning, like I didn't know that it would grow to be what it was, but like this project was huge. Like it was a lot of fun. It was a lot. So yeah, so every time I get stuck on something, I'd add a problem to my README and then I come up with a solution. Sometimes I do a code snippet that I found was a winner. Sometimes I'd link to a YouTube video. There's another code snippet. Sometimes I just give an explanation. The next section is what I learned. Every project, and goes back to what I said in the previous section, that's where the learning happens. And I know people hate to get stuck and it seems like it's overwhelming, like, oh my God, like I'm not cut out for this. But trust me, if you keep at it, you will get unstuck. And guess what happens? When you get stuck, you will never forget that time. You will always remember what not to do because you spent so much time. Being stuck makes memories. It creates muscle memory. Doing something right on the first try, you're going to forget it. Like the simplest syntax, if you ask me, I may have to look it up because it comes so easy. Like I didn't struggle with it, so it wasn't memorable. But if you ask me something specific, especially something on this README, like I'm probably going to be able to rattle it off because I spent so much time trying to find the answer. So like that's why I cannot stress enough. Do not try to skip any steps. Do not try to skip the struggle. Like the struggle is a part of your journey. Like I know people want to make it easier for themselves or trying to fast track, but it's almost a disservice and like low-key kind of selfish, like to see someone who struggled, trial and error for months and months on end, and you just ask them for the cheat code basically. Like you have to go through that too. Like I know you want to go from 0 to developer in 3 months. Like YouTube told you that it was possible, but like you have to struggle. Like at the end of the day, like that's what makes you a better developer in the end is the struggles. All right. The next section in my README is called What I Learned. Sorry. I already talked about that. The next section is continued development. So this would be anything that had I known how to do, I'd like to implement, or maybe as I learn something new, here's what I would like to come back and add. So for example, I'll just go ahead and read this to give you an idea. I would like to learn about authentication and add a user login so that only logged in users can check out. I would also like to learn about backend development or Firebase so that a user's cart can be saved and paired with their login so that when they decide to come back to the site, their cart is saved. So moving forward, eventually, I probably will keep this project at least updated, just because like this project was like really my pride and joy, I'd say. Like I was super proud when I finally finished this project. So yeah, I definitely want to keep it updated and keep adding new things as I go along. The next section is instructions on how to download it, and it will clone it locally if you choose to. And then at the very bottom is a link back to my personal portfolio. All right, so that's the Readme. And on my my portfolio, I have 5 projects. This is the e-commerce website made in React. This is a CV builder. This was actually a project from the Odin project. Mind you, Odin projects are not code-alongs. Like they give you like the user stories, not even all of them, like some of them, and it's up to you to bring it to life and implement it. So it's still you starting from scratch. And if I used a Odin project on my portfolio, I always took it an extra mile. Like, for example, this was actually the shopping cart project with React. You only had to make hero page and a shop page. And when you wanted to add items to the cart, you only had to have like a text box to like literally manually type in the number of items that you wanted. Then when you get to the cart, I think you to update the quantity, you only had to again type in the quantity. It was very basic, but like I decided to make it look as professional and as complete as I could. So like I added like the up and down arrow buttons. I kind of copied Walmart. So like when you add something to the cart, if you already have an item, that item in your cart, the button transforms and adds like a plus and minus sign to it. Just little like tweaks that I did. But yeah, CV Builder. Atlas is a freelance website. I actually got this as a result of the owner of Visions of Hope, which was cool. When her website was completed, she like shared it in a thread, I think a Facebook thread or something, or a Facebook group that she's a part of. And one of her colleagues reached out and was like, "Hey, who made your website?" And she gave him my contact information. I think she gave him my email address. And about like, I don't know, a month later, I got an email and the guy was like, "Hey, I saw her website. I was wondering, do you have time to add on another client? I would like you to make my website pretty much just like hers." And I was like, "Sure." So that's where that came about. So that was cool. Like I had taken the experience from Visions of Hope. Like that was like my trial run. Like I had like my official consultation call. I had the information that I needed because both these are mental health private practice businesses. So I automatically knew the type of information needed. And because I was a former counselor, a part of my role was to refer my clients to the psychologist or to mental health. So this was my way of bridging the gap between my old career and my new career that I wanted. So this pretty much worked perfectly. All right. Again, as you've heard, this is the Visions of Hope website. So this was my very first freelance client. If you've been following me, I'm actually doing a rebranding. She has a new logo since I made this website. So this website will change yet again. This is like I said, like pretty much my guinea pig. I'm actually in the process of learning Next.js. So it'll be cool to build like the final version of her website in Next.js as like my intro to Next.js, I guess. But yeah, and this is the TalkToDo. I almost took this off my portfolio just because like the UI is super basic. It does have a dark mode toggle at least. However, like, I don't know, like this, it's like a very niche, I guess, project. Like, yes, it's a to-do app, but like the fact that you can talk. Matter of fact, here, I'm gonna test it out. I hope it shows up in the video. Close instructions. Finish this video. Add, finish this video. Sorry, I forgot you have to say add or edit or delete. Dark mode on. Add, take out the trash. Edit, finish this video.
What would you like to replace finish this video with?
Finish this video and upload to YouTube. Delete, take out the trash. Complete, finish this video and upload to YouTube. Dark mode off. All right, so I don't know why I didn't just show you that in the beginning. But yeah, you see, so even though this project was like the most basic project, that's why it's at the #1 spot. I just thought it was super cool. And like, I was so fascinated when I figured out how to do this. Like, you have no idea. Like, I was like fist pumping around the room, like, yes, I figured it out. So like, it's one of those things, I guess, like near and dear. Like, I'm probably going to keep it on here just because it's so cool. I just wish, so the web speech API and the web storage API, they're experimental, so they do not work on mobile. I think I actually tested this out on Twitter, and I think only people that had an Android could actually use it on their phone, which was unfortunate. But yeah, another thing, now that I think about it, the order of my projects. So it took a while before I figured out the best order for my projects. Like, for the longest, I had this project first just because it was a freelance project. I think I remember I asked on Twitter one time, I was like, should you put it by, because it's a freelance website, it's a real website, like, does that trump a more advanced tech stack? Like, if I have a React project, would React go up first because it's React, or would freelance go first? And I remember someone just said, just put your best work first. And so like, I struggle with this. Like, I don't know what you would consider my best work. But like, as I built more, and especially as I built, like when I finished Atlas, like, in my opinion, Atlas is a much better design. It shows growth in my skills compared to Visions of Hope. Visions of Hope just has a lot of sentimental value. But that website just looks better. You can tell I made these two websites like 4 months apart. And then CV Builder is a React website, so I put that above because these are just static websites. And then my Pride and Joy right here, first and third, like, this is probably going to be my first project for a while. All right, the next section is the About Me. I just had a quick bio. I'm a self-taught developer, so I made it a point to represent for all the self-taught developers. My cover letter, my LinkedIn, YouTube, like everything, that's the first thing you see is self-taught. Like, I did not hide that. Like, I was proud of it and it meant something to me. So like, that's that. I'm not going to take that off. Developer, freelancer who genuinely enjoys creating responsive, interactive websites and applications. I'm always seeking to learn new skills and increase my knowledge base. I created a YouTube channel to track my progress, as well as share demo videos of projects I'm currently working on. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology from Old Dominion University, along with 11 years of experience in corrections, primarily as a counselor. I've always had a passion for helping others, and I now desire to use technology to provide solutions. So it took me the longest to figure out what to write in the bio, but I like it. I wanted to quickly tell you who I was, where I came from, and where I'm trying to go. So, and also shameless plug, I stuck my YouTube channel in there yet again, because I feel like my YouTube channel played an important role in my journey. I'll talk more about that later. I want to say someone asked me a specific question that'll be perfect to explain as an answer to that question. So skills, I kept it simple. Like I see some people list like 20 skills, but I kept it short and sweet. HTML, CSS, SAS, JavaScript, React, GitHub, and Markdown. SAS, I think the only project that I used SAS for was Visions of Hope, which now that I realize, I forgot to even mention it in my resources. So when I did my Udemy course, I also was learning SAS. So for a portion of it, instead of following him do CSS, I was simultaneously writing it in SAS, trying to learn, which probably was a terrible idea in hindsight because like I feel like I'm still not that proficient in SAS, but anyway, that's just what I did at the moment. All right. Contact section. This form is connected to FormSpree, so it is a real form. Please don't go to my portfolio and spam. I have actually had that happen. To this day, I have yet to have an actual job message me on my contact form. It's literally been random people off Twitter, and like they didn't even make a real message. They just said like hi or something. But anyway, it is functional if someone wanted to reach out to me, but please don't. And I use JavaScript to make the date dynamic, so it always changes, so I don't have to keep going back once a new year hits. But yeah, that's my portfolio. All right, so one thing I want to bring to your attention, I did have my portfolio reviewed, I'd say 3 times by outsiders. I don't know if you follow him or not, but I went to his Twitter. I went to his Twitter on purpose so you can see. So Shashi Lowe, he's a senior front-end developer. Every Friday, he does portfolio reviews. He literally just posts a tweet and he gives you instructions. He may ask you a question for context. You're supposed to post a link of your portfolio and he reviews it. So this was from February 11th. He just so happened to have a guest reviewer. For those of you who like CSS, I'm sure you know who Kevin Powell is. This was my second time he reviewed my portfolio. So it stated that like both of them or either or would pick whoever submitted their portfolio and review it. And so if you scroll down, here I am. So I added mine and let me scroll down. They sent me back a use pastel link. So I'll show you what it looks like. So basically it gives you feedback, like tells you things to change. So if you click here, will it go to it? Here it goes. And if you look, Kevin Powell actually reviewed my portfolio. I was like fangirling for a minute. It's like, I love CSS and I don't know, I just think CSS like the coolest thing ever, which is why I really like the front end. But like to have him, like someone that like I low key looked up to review my portfolio, I just thought that was awesome. So, and it was just him. I don't think Shashi gave any feedback for this one, if I'm not mistaken. Like out of all the 6 issues, they were all Kevin. So yeah, in the beginning, he wasn't using Use Pastel, but I think it's a great tool to use now. Like I said, he reviewed my portfolio twice. And then it's a YouTuber called Don the Developer, if I'm not mistaken. He'll do like hour or 2 long live streams where he'll review portfolios if you submit them. And he actually reviewed my portfolio, gosh, that was a while ago. That may have even been last year sometime, to be honest. I really don't remember. But yeah, so I did have my portfolio reviewed. And like every time Shashi or Kevin like gave me suggestions, I'd go back to my portfolio, I'd make changes. And that's why I decided to submit it a second time, just to see, like, how did my changes look? Did you have any more suggestions? Or, it didn't hurt. Don't know, like, what the reviews, if that, like, helped my luck. I don't know. But it is something that I did. So just so you know, and if you haven't taken advantage of it, as far as I know, he's still doing it every Friday. So follow him. It's Shashi who codes. His name is Shashi Low. So follow him and look out on Fridays.